Well, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome to Zyxel's Tech Talk. My name is Tri Nguyen. I am the channel sales manager and market development manager here in Zyxel North America. If you can hear me okay, I guess Chris raised his hand, but if you can put it down and raise it again, if you can hear me fine, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. So I'm glad that you're all here today. I'm glad that you've chosen to become a Zyxel partner. We're going to be covering a lot of products. How many of you are already, let's see, are new or partners? Are you new to Zyxel, or have you, just been starting to sell Zyxel today? Or, all right. So Eric, thank you. All right, so a few of you there. All right, so we're going to be covering a lot of the product lines. I want this also to be an interactive time, so if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A, and I will try to get to those as we are going through these slides. There's a lot of products to cover, a lot of solutions, technologies, and we kind of want to give you an overview, but because, Zyxel does so many different things, there's so many exciting, cool things that we could talk about, and we can dive into a little bit more details later on. But we want to kind of give you this baseline coverage of some of the main products, main feature sets that we want you to focus on and be comfortable with in selling Zyxel, because we know that it's going to be profitable for you. It's going to be easy for you to learn and to catch up on some of these, maybe the learning curve on some of the products, but to understand the technologies, when to use them, and the different models that come into play, what we call them, and why we call them that way. And so we are going to jump right in. We have a lot of slides, like I mentioned, to cover, and hopefully we'll make that through in the hour time frame. So sit back and just enjoy the time and have this discussion together. We are Zyxel Networks. We've been in business since 1989, so 30 plus years in the networking business, 100 million devices making connections globally. We have 700 employees worldwide. Over 1 million businesses work smarter with Zyxel solutions in 150 different markets. So pretty much a company that's been there for a long time and does a lot of things. And we've been trusted by millions of customers or end users through Best Westerns, Hiltons, Radissons, through restaurants or through retail chains like Subway, KFC, Domino's, etc. They use our technology and our solutions in their networks. We also partner with some of the leading industry entities out there to provide some of the technologies that we put into our devices, including Norton, Webroot, Bitdefender for our security appliances. We've partnered up with A10 for audio video solutions, Wirestorm for also audio video, and we work inside the Amazon and Azure cloud as well. So a lot of these technologies are brought to you as partners that you can offer to your customers. We are a channel-based customer or entity or a manufacturer, and so we work through the channel through distribution. We have channel sales managers and account managers that represent and focus on the different areas and territories within the country. It's David, Andy, and Jacob, and they provide West region, Central region, and East in Canada. So those are the areas that we focus on in North America. So if you have any questions, problems, issues, if it's distribution related or anything, you can work with the distribution sales, but always loop in the Zyxel representative that's working with you, because we help to coordinate, stock, inventory, drop ships, RMAs, any of those kinds of things that you typically deal with. We want to be there to help you. Also with support, pre-sales support, tech support, post-sales tech support, all of that as well. So keep us in touch. And that's why we're here. We're here to, help represent you. We want you to know that we are solutions driven. We make products and design our products. We have R&D in our headquarters in Taiwan. We own a lot of the IP and the information that's there. So we create the firmware, the software, and we utilize your feedback as partners to give us, visibility on what you want to improve, product-wise, feature-wise, new products, technologies, etc. Helps to drive what we produce and what we make into the market. We have a comprehensive portfolio, and that's why we have a lot of slides to cover, because we deal with security appliances, wireless solutions, Ethernet, LAN, fiber connectivity, PoE applications, gateway solutions for hotspots, for guest network access, and be able to manage that both in the cloud and also in a standalone mode as well. So there's a lot of items that can come into it, end-to-end type scenarios in most cases there. As long as you're not the ISP, internet routing side of things, Even though we do have telco type products there, we primarily focus in that small business, the edge kind of to the customer, to the prem, and then the networks within that business. And our focus is small business, anywhere between 1 to 500 user type applications or offices, but that could span into multiple locations, that we can manage in a single interface. So I wanted to talk more about that single interface. How many, by just a raise of hands, have heard of Nebula, Zyxel Nebula? That is our cloud control protocol, you may call it, but it's a central network management system. It is a scalable solution there, providing you an entire stack. Thank you, Thomas. An entire stack of networking solutions, anything that you need, from switches, gateways, access points, all under a single interface. So you're able to configure and deploy all of these network devices without even unboxing the product. There's no additional hardware that you need. You just need the access point, the switch, or the gateway, and any combination of those. So if you have a solution that just needs additional access points that you want to control within this cloud system, that's all you need. And you can manage that within a browser without any hassle of installing any additional software or any kind of cloud key or any local hardware. There's no servers for you to install there for monitoring or management of those devices. So it's all housed within the devices themselves. So that makes it very easy for you to deploy and standardize on these kinds of equipment. And you can launch that in just mere minutes, just a few clicks. If you've preloaded the serial numbers and MAC addresses, it will basically call home and say, hey, who am I? Who do I belong to? Download its firmware, download its configuration, and then you're ready to go. So as long as there's internet connectivity, that makes it really easy for you to onboard. And it gives you access to information about the device, access to configure it, access to monitor it. Anything you want to do in the complexities that you need is all accessible via a browser. So anywhere you have internet access, anytime you want to connect to that Nebula Control Center, that's what we call NCC. So you're able to do that. You monitor it. You get monitoring information. You can use it to troubleshoot and access without having to build VPNs. You don't have to open up additional ports to allow for, to make these kind of connections to get that information. So it helps with not needing like an RDP into the network so that you can just do some troubleshooting. You get that visibility and a lot of that information logged and settled there. So it gives you network clarity. We as IT people always want to know what's going on, or how many of you have been helpless in the sense that you have a break fix customer that says, hey, my Wi-Fi is not working, but you have no way of really knowing what is potentially the problem. Is it signal strength? Is it saturation of the WAN network? Is it, any other things? Is there a virus in there that somebody's, brought into the network that now is consuming up, sessions, et cetera? So a lot of that information you want to have. And now with Nebula gives you that kind of information across multiple sites, across multiple organizations, and each organization would be like your different customers. So you have different offices within a customer as well. So you can manage all that. And so it allows for you, again, to get visibility up to even 12 months of data logs. So you can look at, history, or for audits and for different types of, certifications or that kind of thing to make sure that your network is secure. We also supply within that cloud guest network access. So be able to configure guest network logins, or maybe in a separate SSID to do captive portal, so you can monetize it, or you can give it as a free kind of access just with terms of services. And user device management, you're able to see all these guest network devices that are on the network, put them on their own separate VLANs. They can be pushed to a certain security policy, and then also be able to segregate those networks from each other with guest network isolation. So we have all of those functionalities, those features that are available within that cloud platform. And that's not all. You're able to not only do the visibility of the network, but you're able to manage it. So any kind of updates, mass configuration changes, maybe across multiple sites, firmware updates that you can schedule. It all could all be done through the cloud, downloaded directly to the devices themselves. So no longer do you need to go on site to do kind of like an upgrade cycle. You can schedule those, or maybe even schedule, a percentage of them, maybe half of your APs upgrade and reboots, during a 4 o'clock hour in the morning, and then the other half is at 4:30. Like you can schedule that out and be able to do what you need to do to make sure that you still have connectivity and online. People can still be online at those times, or maybe even schedule things on the weekend, etc. It also has built-in user management. So if you're trying to do two-factor authentication, WPA enterprise user access, or even like dynamic pre-shared key access as well, you can manage that within this cloud platform. So you no longer need specifically like a Radius server or anything like that. This can act and function just like your Radius server would. So is that integration. But if you do have some sort of services that you're going, hey, it's kind of a cross roaming login, maybe users from one site wants to also connect to another site somewhere else or a different service, you can still integrate it into like a Radius type server. But most people are using it for like two-factor authentication kind of applications with username, passwords, and even a token authentication. And then with our remote work from home, environment that we live in today, you're able to set up L2TP site-to-site VPNs, IPsec VPNs, et cetera, through and using the Nebula platform. So it's really easy to kind of click through what sites have access to each other, and the cloud does that for you. So it eliminates a lot of the VPN headaches that you might have when you're trying to make sure that all of the configuration files between the two locations are matching so that they can communicate. So that helps to deal with that as well. And it's all within our award-winning cloud networking platform. So that's that network. Nebula Cloud is a award-winning there, many because of its solution that it provides for you. Get custom dashboards, information for every organization, every site, so you can put the pertinent information that you want for that. In addition to that, you can give access to your customers to have readability so they can see what is going on, but they cannot make any changes. So it's a great add-on of value for you to give to your customers as a kind of like a premium service there, and give them visibility on the user access, what websites they've gone to, how much bandwidth they're using, what's the current Wi-Fi saturation, which APs are being used the most. So those are all valid informations to help you sell a managed service to your customers and be able to say, hey, this AP is getting pretty hammered. There's a lot of traffic there. We suggest to improve kind of the usability in that coverage area that single AP is doing. We suggest for you to install a second AP and do some load balancing between those. And that's, again, something that you would not have visibility of unless you had this kind of information, or you were on site 24/7, doing a network scan and seeing kind of how that AP was doing. So this allows for you to give you that holistic view in the sense that you can also get notifications information if something happens. So you can flag certain things, of course, when devices go down or networks disappear or go down because maybe a WAN connection went down, whatever it may be. You can get alerts and alarms from that to your mobile device or to any email as well. So you get that status information and be able to take action. In some cases, these notifications may be coming before the customer may even knows something is wrong. So for example, if an access point for some reason went down, you would know that access point is no longer available, be able to kind of do some troubleshooting, get some information about it, and then take action before the customer might even realize that he has degraded, network coverage in a certain area for APs, especially if they have multiple APs. Maybe some of the other APs are picking up the slack, but the signal strength is not as good. So again, that's something that you can deal with on a proactive state rather than a reactive state. I think it's more impressive for you as a MSP or a customer to be able to call the customer themselves and say, hey, we know that there's potentially an AP that's down right now. You might have some degraded service, so you might lose some coverage in this particular area. But we're on it. We're checking it out. We need to go out there if we need to, and we'll replace it if we need to. So that is much better than your customers calling, screaming that, hey, I've lost access or I have really poor coverage, and you have no clue what's going on, right? So this really gives you that proactive state. And we now support over 80 devices, and we continue to add more. Every new product that pretty much comes out now is slated to be put onto the Zyxel Nebula platform, because we do see that advantage of it. Currently, we have almost I think around 500,000 devices now, so 500,000 devices in Nebula. So thanks to all the partners that are out there who have been using and selling Zyxel Nebula devices to that. And the main reasons is because we're flexible. We offer kind of two options. Sometimes you'll see on our price sheet something that's called Nebula Flex. So Nebula Flex and Nebula Pro, those are kind of two, maybe I would say like bundles, right? The Nebula Flex just means that it has no cloud licenses included with it, but you could add a cloud license to pay for or use it in the Nebula Cloud. So you don't necessarily have to pay for the license because we offer a free option. So there's a free tier. But if you do see products out there that specifically say Nebula Flex Pro, that means it typically includes either like a 1 year or a 2 year Nebula license included with that product. So it already has that licensing built in for the professional. That's our highest tier grade. But just like I mentioned, we do have a free option within our cloud. So it's broken up in kind of 3 tiers. We have the base pack, which any Nebula Flex or Nebula capable device can be on that base pack, and that's free licensing. It gives you 24 hours of logs. You have to also kind of log into that network every 30 days or so to kind of keep the cloud refreshed or kind of a keep alive, because we do find some people will do their initial setup and then they don't really care about it anymore and they just kind of leave it on the Nebula Cloud to give them access to the devices. But then they're more of a break fix still, so they don't need kind of that active management. So a big percentage of our customers are on that free, and they just typically just use that for their, when they need to have something they need to troubleshoot and log into. So everything goes to that base pack or has base pack connectivity. The plus pack gives you some additional features there. The main kind of difference is that it does give you 7 days of logs. So you have a full week of information that it's constantly collecting and, pushing the older data out. We still store it, but that's the visibility that you have in that plus pack. But if you upgrade to Pro Pack, and most MSPs, most of our partners go to Pro Pack because it's relatively inexpensive when you think about it. It's from a street price standpoint, it's about $2.50 per month price for the Pro Pack per device. So in an office, let's say you have 3 devices, that's $7.50 a month, like for that particular site. So especially if you're an MSP, that's the street price. So you could charge, much more than that. So in the base pack, so the Pro Pack gives you 365 days of logs, and it gives you all the full features. It gives you the site cloning capabilities, a lot of MSP type features that you would need if you're managing a lot of different customers. Again, you can still mix and match. So you can do specific customers can be in the Pro Pack, maybe some other customers that are, don't need so many management features, but you want more logs, that could be in the plus pack. And then you have some maybe entry-level customers who are more like break fix customers that don't want to pay for an active management solution. You can still charge them a minimal nominal fee, but put them on the base pack. So that gives you that access without having, again, build VPN tunnels, et cetera. In most MSPs, if you have, I would say about 10 different organization customers, or maybe 5 technicians 5 or more technicians in your company organization to manage these MSP customers. As an MSP managing your customers, you might want to subscribe to the MSP pack. That MSP pack is $500 per year, and it gives you access to do things like cross-organizational management and alerts and alarms, et cetera, across organizations. So it helps to simplify a lot of the processes, so you don't have to add admins to every single site. You can just say, this admin belongs to all these sites instead. So then it's easier to kind of remove, technicians that might be managing different regions or only managing certain types of customers. So you can organize that a lot easier that way as well. So there's a lot of that as well. And then also cloning or moving sites between organizations and things like that. That's part of that MSP pack. So we have some more details on the MSP pack itself, if you want to look at kind of the main differences and what that $500 per year street price gets you. And we do have some, trial demos that's available when you log into that Nebula Cloud platform to get the MSP pack as a trial, so you can test that out as well. So I wanted to cover some of the technologies, and first of all is I would say the most the elegant one, the one that is most what people see and use in the front end, and that's Wi-Fi. Everybody connects via Wi-Fi today. And I want to talk about some of the technologies that Zyxel has uniquely brought to the industry. So what we brought is what we call smart antenna technology. There's only 2 vendors right now that has this patent, or we have a different patent than the other competitor that is out there, but we have what we call smart antenna. And I'm going to explain to you what smart antenna is and why it's important and why that's part of our flagship wireless solution. All right, so smart antenna helps to solve these kind of problems. Do you have these kind of pain points where maybe you go to an environment and you're trying to improve wireless quality, so you add additional APs, but you don't see any kind of overall improvement at all? Or maybe you've deployed a Wi-Fi in a school or a classroom and people are having problems connecting. There's either slow speeds or a lot of the iPads and such are disconnecting. They don't seem like they're working as well. Or maybe in a hotel, you want to be able to have connectivity, but when there's a lot of rooms, a lot of guests in conference areas, there's also struggle on connectivity. Or maybe in an office environment, people are trying to work from the office and at home, right? With remote work from home type environments. So those are a lot of pain points. How do you make sure that Wi-Fi is working and functioning correctly? And most of the time, why do these issues happen? Well, majority of the reason why this happens is called code channel interference. How many of you have been to a Wi-Fi environment, you connect it to an SSID and you say, oh, my phone shows that there's 4 bars of Wi-Fi signal, but I can't send any traffic. But there's also, 50 other people in that conference center, with you connected to that SSID potentially. That's because code channel interference is basically with Wi-Fi technology and communication, you're utilizing channels. And as I'm speaking to you, maybe if somebody else is also speaking to you or a third person is also speaking to you, all of that voice traffic or all of that data is now getting collided with each other. So then it has to keep resending. And the more APs, the more devices you start throwing into an environment, that just adds to the noise. I mean, you've been in a room where if I was just you and me, we could talk and, we don't have to raise our voices. We can really speak pretty quietly and hear each other, right? But as you're always been in that dynamic. So as people start talking, you end up having to talk a little bit louder. And the next thing you know, it's like you're in a restaurant and you're screaming to each other just so they can hear each other, right? So that's what's happening with Wi-Fi and in general. We're all trying to take up more bandwidth by speaking louder so that people can hear us. So traditionally in Wi-Fi, you usually have multiple access points deployed in an office space. So you either have to turn down the power, either get closer so I can talk to you without screaming, or, but if I'm sitting next to somebody else that's also talking, screaming, so again, we have to kind of limit everybody has to bring down their voices. So that's what the access points would have to do in order to help mitigate this code channel interference. So with smart antenna, there's a couple of goals that it helps to achieve. It increases capacity, increases coverage. It reduces that noise and interference all happening there on the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. So here's how smart antenna works here. Let's say there's some other noise, could be another access point, could be other devices that's causing information issues or communication issues with laptops and devices in that business network. So smart antenna will then take that and utilize a kind of a smart way of dealing with it by scanning the network and then looking for an algorithm on how to optimize its antenna pattern so that it can speak to that client and listen to that client a lot better. So it does that very quickly. And even if the client is roaming around, it's changing its ears, right? It's focusing its antennas in a way that it can hear that device better and communicate better. So it's similar to being able to listen to you like this if I cup my ears and also speak to you better at the same time while eliminating any noise that's behind me. And that's what that technology does with the smart antenna. So that's why that's beneficial. Smart antenna is what you want to go with if there is multiple access points, maybe that you have no control over, or an environment that has many devices. So high concentration, high number of devices within an area with multiple channel interference or multiple technologies that might be there. So this is where smart antenna shines. So that's why I push, when people have any kind of Wi-Fi problems, it's typically because of channel utilization, channel interference, like 90% of the time. And with smart antenna, it helps to resolve a lot of those issues. So yeah, obviously it comes with a price, but that's what you get. If you have a cleaner environment, you can go with a more budget conscious, kind of device, or you can move to the more premium devices. So that gives you that better hearing, that better coverage. And in some cases, it may even help to eliminate the need for additional access points because it's doing it more efficiently. So that helps too. You're trying to find that balance between more devices or more APs that you may have to make, lower the power to concentrate its listening area so that you can get more devices in a concentrated area to be split between more access points. So it's something to consider while you're deploying it. Overall, the technology, we have single click wireless mesh capabilities within the Nebula platform. So you can literally say, hey, this AP is going to be meshed. You plug it in so that it gets its configuration file through the network first, that it has that identity of a mesh. Then you take that device to where it's going to sit, power it on, then it will build that mesh there. So it allows for you to do that wireless bridge without having to run an Ethernet cable between them. But you do have to still set it up or plug it in first to get its identity as a mesh device. We also provide enterprise class Wi-Fi, WPA2 encryption, WPA3, roaming as a standard as well. So people always ask, like, if I roam from network to or from AP to AP, it will seamlessly roam through that. If you're doing 802.1x authentication within the APs themselves, we can pass those 802.11r and 11k roaming, assisted roaming kind of functions as well. So it could pre-authenticate you before you get to the other AP so that you don't have to re-authenticate at that point. So it helps to give you a more seamless roaming function there. We've also added what we call DPPSK, dynamic pre-shared key, allows for you to onboard devices based on its pre-shared key. So kind of the application that I've been telling partners that have been really attracted to this kind of function is let's say you deploy a multi-tenant unit building or even in a hospitality environment, you can just deploy one single SSID, and based on the pre-shared key that they log on, let's say the pre-shared key was guest, right? So if they logged on as a guest, they're going to be put into that guest SSID or that network. If they logged on with the pre-shared key as, the private network, then it gets put onto the private network. Or then the POS system, they use a special SSID called POS. Oh no, sorry, not SSID, a pre-shared key that's POS. Then they would be put into that POS, again, isolated without having to create separate SSIDs for every one of those applications. So that becomes very attractive, very clean in that environment, in terms of the SSIDs getting broadcasted. How many times have I been to a hotel still that has multiple SSIDs, like room 1, room 2, room 3, room 4, right? It becomes a kind of a crazy, which one do I really connect to? I have no clue, because I don't see my room number. That's happened a lot, but especially for IoT devices that don't necessarily have like a GUI interface or easy to set up, it just kind of logs onto a Wi-Fi SSID. You can't kind of configure the VLANs or anything like that. This helps to place them into the right bucket. So, IoT devices, et cetera, can connect to the Wi-Fi and to that SSID without any problems. And that's part of the Pro Pack feature. So that's one of those, one of the main Pro Pack features for wireless. Reason why you would want Pro Pack. Oh, just keep in mind as well, with the way that it's structured within the Zyxel or within the Nebula platform, is that all devices that are being managed under a single organization or site has to be all Pro Pack. So if that particular customer is a Pro Pack customer, then all those devices need to be Pro Pack for it. Otherwise, it will go back down to the lowest common pack. So in that particular case, it will all go to base pack. So just keep that in mind as you're building out networks. You can always, if you want to have the same customer that has maybe some sites that are pro and some that are basic, then you want to kind of separate them into two organizations, like a, customer 1 pro and a customer 1 base, like that way it doesn't mix the kind of the licensing there. For AI machine learning, we are able to use the cloud to help devices either load balance between the Wi-Fi, or even look and adjust the little channel information to help you make sure that the devices themselves, or we can help to load balance or prioritize people connecting to 5 gigahertz range versus 2.4. So we can help to load balancing customers so they can be on different channels and be, kind of farther away from each other from causing any additional interference that's unnecessary. So we're able to do that. You have historical data. The beauty of it is even on the free base pack, you get information of their Wi-Fi signal strength, connected to which AP that's connected to which switch port. So you're able to see that information and utilize that information to say, hey, your iPad seems like it's having poor connection. Where are you standing? And if they're like, oh, I was using it outdoors, you can see their signal strength is a neg, 95 or neg 90 or something like that. Then you can say, well, we can offer coverage out there. And again, you can take action, or you have explanation on what to do about it. And we take pride in what we design as well. We take the RF seriously in terms of shielding of the radios, where the antennas are being placed, and we design it in a way to make sure that it's not causing interference to other devices as much, or to itself, or it can help to prevent that as well. So it increases its coverage capacity and its ability to deal with interference. And now with Wi-Fi 6, we're seeing customers migrate to that. In fact, you're kind of being forced to. 11AC is pretty much going away in terms of future chipsets. Everything's being pushed now from chipset manufacturers to go to Wi-Fi 6. So you only will see new products with just at least Wi-Fi 6 or above. But it does give you better capacity, better speeds as usual. Gives you additional throughput capabilities. Usually internet, the WAN ports or the uplink ports are higher in throughput as well, to facilitate the higher speeds that it's available to hit. So with Wi-Fi 6, you actually can hit a theoretical speed of 9.6 gigabits. But just wait, Wi-Fi 7 will give you 40 something plus gigabits. So like 48 gigabits of speed. So that's coming, in the future. So just keep that in mind. It's always going to be bigger, faster, stronger. I mean, that's kind of the way that we work, right? That's what people want. So we kind of break it up into three things. All of our switches, access points, gateways, we kind of break it up into 3 tiers. We call it simplicity, flexibility, and ultimate. Most partners will start in the flexibility stage. And then if they need something like smart antenna, then they move up to the ultimate side. Or if they're like, I just need budget, I just need low cost, something that will compete against the company that I shall not name, that starts with a U, you move down to the simplicity side, so we can compete against that as well, right? So those are kind of the 3 tiers that we offer. So on the simplicity side, those are kind of our entry level, small office, home office type, where you just need maybe 1 or 2 access points. They're still usually they're all PoE injectable, but it's just a matter of like, there's some feature sets that are probably a bit less. It's not as robust. It doesn't maybe have the dynamic pre-shared key functionalities, et cetera, but it still may give you like captive portal solutions there. So very economical, budget friendly there, good value for that. And then this flexibility products are NWA series. It ends in AX, obviously, then it's an AX device. So Wi-Fi 6. The 210 is kind of that good mid-tier. It also has a 2.5 multi-gig port uplink to manage the AP, the 4x4 AP that's in there. All of our products also come with a lifetime warranty. So all the business class products like the business class access points, like our flexibility and above, typically are lifetime warranties, as you can see here. So these are kind of the main comparisons charts here. You can see that only when you get to the NWA 90AX is when you start getting like the enterprise class Wi-Fi support. So if you're doing 802.1x authentication with WPA2 or PA3, the layer 2 isolation with captive portals. If you need to do like load balancing type technologies where you're moving customers or devices from one AP to another AP because of a overload, or you want to load balance between devices, then the NWA 110AX and above will take care of that. So that's where most of our partners will sit as a MSP is the NWA 1100 or the 110AX or the 210AX. They start kind of in that space. But then if they were looking for our Ultimate series, these are again our WAX flagship type products. These are our Nebula Flex Pro. So they also include 1 year of Nebula built into it when you buy the product. So the WAX 510D, the 610D, those are also good products that you're choosing for the Nebula's Wi-Fi 6 side. And then if it ends in an S, so the WAX 630S, that stands for smart antenna. So that's where the first kind of series or tier that lets you have that smart antenna technology there. We also have a flagship model, just one step higher. It's our WAX 650S. That's our smart antenna. Has a scanning radio as well for rogue detection, has Bluetooth connectivity for different IoT type devices, etc. So that's our flagship model in the Wi-Fi 6 space. And we've just launched our WAX 620D-6E. So this is our first Wi-Fi 6E, so the extended Wi-Fi 6 that lets you choose the second radio to be either in 5 gigahertz range or in 6 gigahertz range. So it opens up that band and technology. If you're looking for more information on the Wi-Fi 6E type product, we did do a webinar, I believe recently. You might want to check our YouTube channel or on our website on our webinars for the Wi-Fi 6E webinar information there. Or if you want to just get some more information or data sheets on that, reach out to your sales rep at Zyxel and we can get that to you if you have any further questions. But basically the 6E right now technologies, there's not as many devices that are out there. There are some, higher end gaming laptops or some of the new gaming motherboards come with a 6E antenna or radio in it. But until more devices come out, you typically only see the 6E in the home kind of environment or the home routers. But on the business side, people are still using, unless you're using the higher end Androids, et cetera, may not have the 6E antenna in there. So they're not getting that benefit of that 6 gigahertz anyways. So a lot of these APs are currently being used as more of a, bridging type. So you could have a cleaner interface to provide for a bridge between access points, or you have a cleaner environment to supply for maybe some of those specialty, the premium, your premium devices that do have 6E. So gives you better bandwidth, but also gives you a cleaner signal because of the unused 6 gigahertz range. So I'm going to move over to the switch or switch gears, literally over to the switches on the wired side. And that's a very important part of the network. Most people, again, look at a network and see Wi-Fi, and that's the kind of the front and center of what people use. But they don't realize that sometimes it's the back end of the network. It's what powers the EPs that helps to facilitate that network traffic. So if you have a network congestion, if you have a poor designed Ethernet core network side of things or poor power optimization, then you're going to have problems within the network, and they're going to blame the Wi-Fi. So the Wi-Fi side is going to take the blame, but it's going to be mostly on the switch end that might be the main issue. So some of the naming conventions that we use here at Zyxel, ES just stands for an Ethernet switch. That's 100 megabits, which we really don't carry anymore. Everything is a gigabit switch, so it's at GS, so 1 gig. MG is just like a multi-gig switch. It could have 10 gig uplinks there. And XS is primarily and purely like a 10 gig port capable. So every port is either multi-gig or 10 gig. XGS, it's a gigabit switch, but has 10 gig uplinks. So the Roman numeral X is for 10. And XMG is a new product that we are launching or have launched. It is a multi-gig with 10 gig uplinks. So it supports multi-gig ports and higher PoE budgets. If the switch ends in HP, it's a PoE switch. If it ends in an EP, it's kind of an eco, not echo power. It's an eco power power budget. So usually it's about half the power you typically see, but it's perfect for voice over IP. So you can, save money on not needing all that extra power for like a voice solution, or maybe just an IoT type solution that doesn't need a lot of power. But we do have an FP, which is like, a very high powered, so it's larger power budget. than the standard. And if it ends in just an F, then it stands for fiber. So it's a fiber port switch. So all of the ports primarily are transceiver ports that you have to use then a fiber transceiver to uplink. And speaking of fiber ports, we have SFP and SFP plus. SFP just stands for the 1 gig. SFP plus is the 10 gig transceiver. So you have just to buy the appropriate transceiver to fit in that. Now, if you're looking to uplink ports together using 10 gig, then we do have what we call direct attached cables. They're DACs, DAC cables, 1 meter and 3 meters that allow, it already has a pre-terminated transceiver with the fiber connected to it. And all you have to do is literally plug and play as if you plugged in an Ethernet switch. So then you can use that to uplink, between switches on a 10 gig SFP plus port. So that's probably the most cost-effective, easiest way for you to do that with no hassle. You don't have to terminate fiber and have to deal with that. So PoE in itself, the technology, we've already moved away from the 15.4 watt. We've been in the 30 watt standard for a long time now. That's the 802.3 AT. And now what you'll see, more products coming out are going to have either all ports or many of the ports are going to be 60 watt capable. That's the 802.3 BT. And a lot of that is being fed by the Wi-Fi 6 kind of evolution and technology there. Now you're having multi-gig ports with the higher bandwidth. And because you're doing these higher end radios or multiple radios, in some cases it could be 2 or 3 different radios, you need more power to power that beast. So the 60 watt standard is now taking over. There's more devices out there, computers or consoles now that could be powered by a 60 watt PoE. So you have your data and your power going through just that Ethernet cable to powering these devices. So, there's a lot of that, or even in industrial lighting, et cetera, they can be using that 60 watt as well. So our switching technology, it's there to help you. So, help deal with the network. So a lot of customers primarily use switches for their VLAN capabilities. And some of our switches also have what we call voice VLAN or automatic based VLAN based on the device or the OUI of the device as well. So it really makes it easy if you're deploying like a VoIP type network or maybe APs that you want to put on a certain kind of management VLAN and network communication VLAN. They can all be detected automatically and be put into those. You can auto detect and recover connected PoE devices as well. So any devices that are connected and maybe you want to set some thresholds to reboot the device based on maybe its inactivity, you can do that as well. We have what we call intelligent PoE. We use consumption mode. So only what the product actually, the device draws from the budget is what we will assign from it. So we don't use classification where if it says, hey, I'm a 30 watt device, we won't budget out 30 watts. We'll, because a lot of the devices will be, I'm a 30 watt device, but I only use 7 watts. So all of that, extra wattage there would be wasted in a budget that's not being used. So we can actually power more devices with the power that we have in these devices. We also have specific CCTV, IPTV reporting tools available in our switches with machine learning in the cloud that allows for you to kind of check the different broadcast storms or allow blocking information there to keep your network secure and safe and functioning well. You can then visualize the network. You get automatic network topology in the cloud, so it can detect the different devices that are there, APs that are connected to it, builds you out a kind of a virtual connection there, gives you a virtual stack and port status information. Pretty much anything you would want to know when you log into a switch, is available there in the cloud platform. Gives you real-time port utilization, PoE consumption, and be able to run diagnostics like cable, remote cable, and fiber testing. So you're able to do those kinds of loop tests and be able to see if there's an issue with even the Ethernet cable itself. So some of these tools, it's very difficult to kind of implement on your own, and these are things that are readily available within our solutions today. It allows for you to provide a network resilience and security using the ability to store and restore switch configurations from the cloud backup, be able to use 802.1x authentication on the Ethernet side as well to make sure that devices that are not allowed to be on that Ethernet network is not able to go on it. And also things like loop guard or DHCP guard. You could literally take down a network by just plugging in a router into a Ethernet network backwards if there's no loop guard or if there's no DHCP guard. So my firewall could could potentially DHCP to this entire network and not send people anywhere, and will cause basically a wild time for people trying to get out to the internet. So that can be guarded against. So it only allows DHCP to be received or sent from, DHCP request responses to come from a certain port or a certain uplink. So that helps for you again to protect the network overall. Also, link aggregation, rapid spanning tree protocols, switch routing protocols, et cetera, to keep your network secure and safe as well. So you're able to also deploy these very easily. Again, like I mentioned, you can scan a QR code within the devices to add it to your Nebula cloud. It will call home and get its identity, gets its configuration, gets its new firmware, et cetera. And because that's in the cloud, if you happen to deal with a kind of a break fix scenario, you can replace the product, put in the new replaced product there. Again, it will call home and knows that it's part of that network because you've added it to that network. It will download the configuration and information that it needs to continue functioning as the previous switch did before. And you're able to synchronize and create templates as well. With the Pro Pack, you're able to cookie cutter and create template sites that you can literally cut and paste, or copy into a new site and utilize that as your kind of your baseline template and for a new deployment. So I always use the example, let's say you have a doctor's office, a switch, a gateway, an access point. It's in a template, and that's primarily who you focus on. So that type of customer network, you you sign up a new customer, you cookie cutter that to that new site, you scan an AP, a gateway, a switch, and change maybe some SSIDs, maybe some IP information. And then once it's installed, it dials home and gets all its configuration. Now you're up and ready and going. So it really helps for you as an MSP to give you a bigger reach, and you don't necessarily have to send a network tech, somebody who actually does network configuration to the prem. It could be your cable guy or whoever it may be, or maybe even a third party hired consultant type who just does the install. And they just need to know, plug this into this, plug that AP into the switch, plug the switch into the gateway, and the gateway into the internet. And then call your NOC and say, hey, I plugged this in. Do you see it go online? You see it go online on the Nebula cloud side, downloads its firmware configuration. The local person just does some tests, connects to the Wi-Fi or whatever, can do speed test or whatnot. And now they know they're ready and going, and then they're done with the installation. So it really allows for hassle-free deployment. And we've split it up as well on our switches to simplicity, flexibility, and ultimate. And again, most people start with the flexibility side. So that's our GS 1920s or XGS 1930s or our new XS 1930 series. These are kind of that mid-tier, web managed, can be standalone, can be used in the cloud, or move to the 10 gig side, XGS, and the XS has multi-gig ports. You can also go down to the lower end. We do have some models that are on that lower tier. If you're just looking for kind of basic connectivity, may not have, certain models may not have the Nebula connectivity, but most of our MSP partners are using the Nebula side of it because of the advantages there. Or you go up a tier, it's still Nebula, but it's Nebula Pro this time. So it comes with the 1-year licenses, but these also offer to you some advanced security, port locking capabilities, as well as still be manageable in the cloud. But these are the models that you would use if you needed, CLI or, more of the standalone functionalities where you're doing scripting and need that CLI access to configuring switches. So that's the GS 2220 series and above. Or if you're just looking for straight up PoE injection, we have those models as well. So we call this the effortless series. The PoE 12-60 watt. So that's our 5 gig. So it's a multi-gig uplinks with PoE that injects 60 watts for those kinds of applications. And then we have a PoE 12-30 watt. So that's a 2.5 gig uplink, and it gives you 30 watts of PoE power. So there's a lot of other ones on the market. They may be just a little bit less expensive, but they're only gigabit. So keep that in mind. These are multi-gig 2.5 and 5 gig options so that you can utilize them into some of those higher end APs. Maybe you just have like one AP. You don't need a full multi-gig switch out there. The customer doesn't need all those extra ports, and you just need to power up a device like an AP, a single AP that uses the 60 watt and multi-gig 5 gig. So these are a good alternative for you to give that connectivity and that power to those kinds of devices. So I did mention a lower tier. So our GS1915, it's a little bit of a step down. It has but it still gives you Nebula access and gives you Nebula features there, functionalities, and also a kind of an eco-friendly power. So that's why they end in EP. So the 1915-8 EP has 60 watts of PoE, and the 1915-24 EP provides 130 watts of PoE. So these are perfect for if you're doing voice applications that just need to power up some phones or some IoT devices there that don't need kind of the full suite of network, kind of a network core that you would typically find. But we also have our GS-Net 1350 series. This is our CCTV kind of webcam or web IPTV type, or sorry, CCTV IP surveillance switches. The main reason for these switches is that it has a stronger surge protection, also has extended range capability. So it gives you 250 meters of distance on an Ethernet cable. So not only is it providing data, but also PoE as well at 250 meters. So that's 800 feet. Normal Ethernet is only 100 meters. So you're getting, 2.5 times of distance to providing maybe a camera that is a little bit further out that needs that coverage without having to put another, extender or a repeater in between to get that to happen. So it allows for you to do that. It also has what we call auto camera recovery as well. So if it detects if a camera's not sending data, you can actually tell the switch to reboot that port for you a few times, however you set the thresholds to make sure that maybe the device comes back online. So it's really, really cool in that regard. And it has typically a higher power budget there too, to facilitate those applications. And our new XMG 1930 series, that's our multi-gig switch. It has up to 700 watts of PoE power. It has different up to 24, 2.5 gigs, 4 up to 10 gig ports, and then 2 SFP plus ports. So we have an 8-port version, an 8-port PoE plus 20-port PoE. So those are kind of the breakdowns between those. And I'm just going to quickly go over security, give you an overview of that since we only have about less than 10 minutes to do that. So our security product lines, it is similar to a lot of the technologies that are out there, but what we provide is an all-in-one, very affordable, all-in-one type box. Content filtering, secure protection, UTM protection, antivirus, intrusion detection, sandboxing options as well. So everything there with also a solution we call secure Wi-Fi. And I want to kind of focus on the secure Wi-Fi side of it because it is a good application for a lot of the remote from home type applications. But it evolves. It means that the security information is downloaded from those partners that you saw earlier in the webinar. We utilize their signatures, their information, their expertise to provide what to make our devices secure against. So we use that. And so if there's outbreaks, we download those signatures and it works smart for you. It helps to connect and protect a lot of the devices out there, both on the AP side, if you need to, or what we call collaborative defense response. So we can actually communicate when you use a Zyxel AP that has this functionality to be able to block or protect or isolate those users from the network based on its security, maybe its threat assessment. You can centralize that to provision it, all the information across multiple networks, multiple sites. So policies you can run across different organizations or different sites or customers within that organization. And then remote work, either VPN connectivity or endpoint connectivity. But what we want you to know is like utilizing some of our higher end APs that have this secure Wi-Fi functionality. You can build a secure tunnel between a remote office. So you can drop it into a home office or maybe a remote office, and it will utilize the existing connection. You don't have to open up any ports or bridging, putting things in bridge mode or installing a VPN. It will build basically a layer 2 VPN encrypted back to the office using one of our firewalls there, and it creates a seamless connection access to that corporate network. So if you're moving from the office, you're connected to the SSID at the office, and all of your profiles and keys or whatever, you can bring it home, and now you're authenticating the same way to that local access network that has the same SSID that's transmitted there. So it really makes for a seamless work environment situation, having access to a lot of the different devices or CRMs and such inside the that's housed in the office side. Anything that's over on that side. You're able to monitor the security as well. So this is great value add as a security device to give functionality or to charge whatever you charge for your MSP side, to be able to monitor, to tell them threats, utilization, information on why the security plan that you're paying for every month is doing something to protect your network against ransomware, against viruses, again, threats and intrusions. So we also break this into those 3 tiers: simplicity, flexibility, and ultimate. So our USG 20s now are being called the USG Flex 50s. They've been just kind of renamed. The functionality is still the same there. Most customers will start with our USG Flex model line because of, it's kind of that mid-tier. And if you need sandboxing functionality or IP reputation or DNS reputation filtering, you can either upgrade the USG Flex with a gold license, which we just launched late last year, to give you the same functionality as what an ATP does. So again, I think flexibility is where you want to start. If you want an all-in-one with the licenses included with the gold or the sandboxing, then you would buy the ATP series, the appropriate version. We are running a promo right now, so if you haven't taken advantage of it, we are offering, if you have an old USG, you can trade in that old USG, buy a 2-year license and get the new USG Flex hardware for free. So that's the promo. You want to talk to your sales rep on how to get that promo, because we will load that discount into the back end there at your distribution of choice. So again, USG Flex is where you want to start. ATP is that higher end, gives you that sandboxing and URL threat information there. We use AI. If you want to learn more about the sandboxing function, we have a webinar on that specifically as well, or I might do a kind of a refresher course on the sandboxing functionality there in the future. But we're here to connect different types of applications, connecting businesses together. We're able to connect, small businesses, maybe a few devices there. You can move to a bigger office device. So just a matter of scale, is what your maybe product you're going to use, or maybe how much security you need. So it's really the cool thing about the Zyxel products is like a mix and match. You can utilize different technologies and different applications, higher concentrations. You may want to use a smart antenna functionality to connect multiple, bigger offices together, or connecting people remotely. These are the APIs you can use to connect there as well. And then connecting, in-room for hotel solutions. We have in-wall application type, or outdoor applications with outdoor housing or outdoor APs themselves that can do, heating, has built-in heating functionalities within it to keep it warm, or connecting different branch offices together with, VPN and be able to universalize across multiple stores, multiple applications. So that's kind of a general overview there of all kind of our solutions there here at Zyxel. So if you are a partner with us, you're in one of these tiers, bronze, silver, and gold. It's free to apply. If you haven't applied, please sign up. There's no cost to you. You just have to maintain a certain qualifying sales in a 6-month period to maintain that tier. Or if you just have one project that bumps you right up to gold, make sure you let your sales rep know, and we'll get you immediately into the gold tier, and let you enjoy all of the discounts that are available there. So there's a lot of benefits in that to be at that gold tier, and support that we provide to you, for you. We work with D&H, Ingram, TD Synnex, Wave, Target, and Pace. So if you're dealing with any of those distributors, bring us on board, like in terms of your conversations, pre-sales, post-sales, whatever it may be, so that we can help you with your journey here at Zyxel. Now, to continue to help with it, you can check out, to continue to help with your journey, you can also have conversations with us. Zyxel-US channels are LinkedIn, and Zyxel America channel is our YouTube. So subscribe to those. You can also subscribe to my LinkedIn as well. I think it's just Zyxel Try, or you can search for Zyxel Try and you will find a picture of me there, and feel free to connect with me. So if you have any questions, we just have a couple minutes left, maybe a minute. I didn't see any questions throughout the webinar, so maybe I'll just a lot of information for you to digest. And If you have a question after the fact, or maybe you think of it later, send me an email. It's Tri at Zyxel.com, and I will try to get the answer to you or send you to the appropriate person, or you can reach out to your sales rep and ask them the question as well. So we look forward to partnering with you as our networking partner, networking ally. I hope this was informative to you, and I appreciate the time that you've spent with me in the last hour. Look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you again soon. Thank you for joining.